Good morning, everyone. Maybe it's not morning for you, but it is for me. Hi, my name is Yoli Rome. I'm the Associate Dean in the college for first year, sophomore, and first generation college academic advising. Thank you so much for coming today. I know that you have lots of questions. We've brought in a bunch of people who can address some of those questions, and I'd like to introduce them now. The first person I'd like to introduce, making sure everyone is on, is Anya Lee. Can you introduce yourself, Anya?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Anya Lee and I work in the Pre-Professional Advising Center as the Health Careers Advisor, working primarily with first year and sophomore students, and welcome.
Thank you. Claire Hayden, class of 2021. Can you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm a senior studying economics and I'm a part of Meiklejohn Leadership, which coordinates the first year peer advising program. Excited to be here with you all.
Thank you. And Dean Zia, can you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Rashid Zia. I'm a professor of engineering and physics at Brown. I'm also a proud Brown alum, and I serve as Dean of the College, which is the Senior Academic Officer for Undergraduate Affairs.
And last but not least, Sunil, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sunil. I'm a senior studying English and public health, and like Claire, I'm also a leader of the Meiklejohn program.
Great, thank you. Again, welcome. As I've said in other webinars, I would let you know that you see 5 of us right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But there are lots of people at the university who are working to welcome you, to figure out all the planning and get you back to Brown. So what I'd like to start with actually is what is advising at Brown? And Anya, I'm hoping you can just give an overview of what an academic advisor at Brown does.
Yes, and thank you, Yoli. So as you know, at Brown, all students get the opportunity to really be architects of their educational journey. And of course, as you know, the open curriculum really gives you the chance to really create your educational path. And of course, in doing so, it's important to get guidance and support along the way. And so this is where the role of an academic advisor becomes very important. So each of you will be assigned an academic advisor, and they will be a faculty member or an administrator within the university. And their primary role is to really be a resource to you as you navigate the Brown curriculum and make your educational choices as well. Your academic advisor will be trained in the variety of resources that we offer at Brown, and they're going to be working hand in hand with your Meiklejohn peer advisor, who you will learn about shortly, to really help you shape your educational goals, to encourage you, and to also challenge you when appropriate as well. It's important to note that your academic advisor, along with your Meiklejohn peer advisor, will be encouraging you to create what we call an advising network. And this is going to be created with other faculty members, other staff members, other administrators within the university to serve as additional resources for you. So for example, they may encourage you to connect with a faculty member in a department that you might be interested in concentrating with, or even other peer advising groups on campus as well. And this is important because your academic advisor may not know all the answers to all the questions that you have. Rather, they will refer you when necessary and appropriate and help you develop a team of others around campus to help answer your questions as well.
Thank you. Anya, do you serve as an advisor?
Yes, I do. So I have served as an academic advisor for the past couple years, working with first years and also sophomores as well.
What do you enjoy about it?
I really enjoy the opportunity to work with students and to really be, like I said earlier, that guide when they first come to campus, and to, to answer questions, to be sort of a cheerleader in the background, to support them, encourage them, and challenge them as well.
Thank you. Claire, I'm hoping that you can talk about the Meiklejohn program and the peer connections that happen at Brown's.
Absolutely. So as Anya just mentioned, everyone will be assigned a Meiklejohn in late August, and that Meiklejohn is kind of your peer guide to the open curriculum and life at Brown. So Kind of some things that you can expect to discuss with your Meiklejohn are like, what classes do I take? Or how do I take advantage of shopping period? Or what are some cool student organizations to get involved with? So the role of the Meiklejohn is to kind of serve as that peer connection, as someone who has just recently been in your shoes, and can help guide you through your first year at Brown to make the most out of it and facilitate other peer connections.
Thank you. Sunil, I have a question. What's the open curriculum? I said I wanted to do that open curriculum, but can you explain how do I do it?
Good question. So the open curriculum is sort of, hopefully all of you should know, if you, like Yoli said, wrote that you wanted to be part of it, but the open curriculum is Brown's sort of new curriculum that's been in place for what, I guess, over 50 years now. So this is like what people talk about. It's like, oh, you can come to Brown and like you have no requirements and you can take whatever you want. So for the most part, partly that is true. But really what the open curriculum is sort of giving students the space to build a degree that really matches what they want to study and what they want to get out of their 4 years studying at college. You can read online on Brown like degree requirement websites, but you do have to like complete a concentration or a major when you get to Brown. But besides that, your elective courses are really up to you. And so it's sort of like on you to figure out what your path at Brown is going to be and the different departments and classes that you're going to explore in and take classes in, which is really what makes Brown pretty unique and special. And is also why the role of advising is really important at Brown, to help you sort of navigate all of these different choices that you have to make and the different classes that you're going to have to choose to explore in. So I, for example, as a Meiklejohn advisor, I always encourage students to sort of think, okay, what are their comfort zones? What are they really comfortable taking at Brown? And then what are the things that they want to explore in and where do they want to explore out of? And sort of making sure that you have like a very wide breadth of different like departments and classes that you were able to explore in during your time at Brown.
All right, thanks. So Dean Zia, I think there have been a lot of questions about when are students going to have these advisors and how is that different? How are academic deans perhaps different from academic advisors? What's the role of the college? Why would we go speak to a dean? Can you take that, please?
Yeah, I'd love to take that. Thank you, Yoli. So I'd say that Brown's advising system is about building a network of partnerships. And so in addition to your academic advisor and your wonderful Meiklejohn peer advisors, you also always have access to come speak with the academic advising deans in the college. And they can help you with the same types of questions that your academic advisor or the Meiklejohns could talk about, but they can also talk to you about some of the mechanics of things like course registration. But really, we want to talk to you about trying to identify and support your educational objectives and goals. Just linking it back to what Sunil said about the open curriculum, the open curriculum is about a couple of things. It's about helping you to make choices. It's about helping you partner with others to build close relationships, and about ensuring that you have the opportunity to maximize and achieve your educational objectives. The one part, if it's okay, Yoli, to just say something, if you open up Brown Faculty Rules and Regulations and you look to the part that says degree requirements that Sunil referenced, the first thing you see there is not a degree requirement. It's actually a 5-sentence paragraph that was written by students and faculty 50 years ago, and it continues to define what the open curriculum is here. And the first sentence says that the purpose of undergraduate education at Brown is to support the intellectual and personal development of the individual student. That is all of you. And that's a really difficult task. So the next sentence says that the student ultimately responsible for his or her own development in both of these areas must be an active participant in framing their own education. That's the piece that Sunil talked about all the choices that you're about to make. But the third sentence is probably the one that's most fitting for this. It says, a central aspect of this development is the relationship of the student with fellow students and professors and with the material they approach together. It's about community. And so what we're starting today is helping introduce you to that community that's going to allow you to make choices and decisions. And it's the college and the academic dean's responsibility to help you build relationships in support of your education. So actually, any question you have, you could reach out to college@brown.edu and we'll try to connect you with something.
All right, thank you. I'd like to turn to a big anxiety for students in terms, especially for first years, that you have one course to take this fall. Remember, you are going to have 8 semesters. So this one course is a great opportunity to explore and or not just or, take a prereq. And Anya, I'm hoping that you could talk to students. There's a lot of students who are either STEM intending or pre-health. I know that's your expertise, and I'm wondering if you can talk about what students might want to consider if they're thinking about pre-health, STEM, those kinds of fields. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. So again, my role in the university is to advise primarily first year and sophomore students interested in the health professions. And so I know a lot of you may be considering a career within the health professions. I should also say that my office is situated within the Pre-Professional Advising Center. So we do also provide advising for students interested in a career in law and business as well. But of course, with my role, I work with students specifically interested in the health professions, being medical school, dental school, or veterinary school down the road. So I know that many of you may be thinking about perhaps taking one of the pre-health requirements during the fall term. And I just want to make note here that while you do have the choice to do so, it is absolutely not required that you do so at this point. And it's really also important for you to know that you are not going to be at any disadvantage if you wait to start your pre-health requirements when you come to campus. So really with this one course, it should be your opportunity to utilize your academic freedom and to really dive into the open curriculum and take a course that's of interest to you. And if you are intending on pursuing a career in the health professions, you absolutely do not have to start that at this point, and it is perfectly fine to wait until you come to campus to do so. I'll also point out that we have a very robust website for any student at any stage of their path in considering a career in the health professions. It can be found at brown.edu/go/healthcareers. So I'd invite any of you, again, at any stage of your process, to visit our website and to learn more as well.
Great. Claire, can you kind of touch on exploring instead of a prereq?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of one of the beautiful things about college is there are so many disciplines that at least I know I didn't even know existed when I was in high school. So kind of this fall semester is a great opportunity to kind of embrace the spirit of the open curriculum and push yourself to try something kind of different. So as you go through courses at Brown, maybe consider trying an anthropology course or something totally outside of your realm of comfort, or maybe moderately outside your realm of comfort. But this fall is a great opportunity to kind of maybe explore something that you wouldn't have otherwise be required to do, just in order to kind of gain new skills and perspectives. So for instance, one thing that you might find really interesting is doing a first year seminar, which has only first year students within it. I think it's limited to under 20 students. You get to make really meaningful connections with a faculty member. And even for instance, if you're interested in STEM, there are some first year seminars, such as like, I think Darwinian medicine, if that's available this fall. I don't know. There's a lot of first year seminars that cover different topics from different perspectives in a really interesting and unique way. So just, I would highly encourage you to use this fall in this course as an opportunity to go outside your comfort zone and embrace the spirit of the open curriculum by trying something new, something maybe you didn't even know existed before.
Sunil, if students could take a first year seminar now, what about the other 2 semesters of this unusual year? And can you just talk about exploring for the next 4 years?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll just start off by saying like a lot of the people that I know that are seniors with me, like when they came to Brown, they wanted to concentrate in something, or they were really sure they were going to concentrate in something, and they're now ending up in a totally different field. And I would say like not only is that okay, that's actually like those are probably the people that I trust really took advantage of their Brown education, because that means they tried to find something outside of their comfort zone and they found that they really enjoyed it or found a passion in them for that subject or course or discipline. So yeah, I would just sort of encourage people generally. I know when I came to Brown, like I was definitely like, I'm sure that I'm going to study X, Y, Z. And it was hard for anyone to tell me that that wasn't going to happen. So I understand sort of being in a place that's like sort of stubborn or like headstrong right now. And I'm really like glad that people have interest coming into Brown and like coming into college. But I would really, really encourage people to take a wide range of classes that are sort of outside of the areas that they intend to do anything with in their life. I never really thought I would have been an English concentrator at Brown, but those are like the classes that I'm enjoying the most now. And like Claire said, there is stuff about that discipline and that field that I never really knew existed at 17 or 18. But now, a couple of years later, like I'm really, really excited by that. So yeah, I would say just like definitely keep an open mind, like just as like a broad rule, like if you see that you're like always going for classes in like one department or like two departments, then like that's probably a sign that you should like think about other things that might excite you just at first glance and like try those things. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say about that.
Thanks. So Dean Zia, you have an interesting story about your path through Brown that I'm hoping that you can share with the undergrads.
I'd be glad. So this may relate a little bit to what Sunil just said. But first, I want to share with you just my sympathies. So I, like you, remember how excited I was to come to Brown. I remember applying to Brown and being thrilled that I got into a place that had an open curriculum. And then I remember what it felt like the summer before classes began when I saw the course list and then realizing, oh my God, I have 1,000 classes to choose from. How am I going to make that choice? And the reason why you have my deepest sympathies is that I know that now when you look at it and you're trying to pick not a full set of courses, but maybe just one course, how difficult that must be. One perspective I want to share with you is the one that others have already said. Think of this as a +1. This isn't your first semester at Brown. This is before your first semester at Brown. And it's not about how do I choose the one best course, but how do I find one course that can expand what's open to me? When I was a student, I applied to Brown. I knew I was going to do one thing. I knew I was never going to take an English class because in high school, I did not like writing 5-paragraph essays. I loved reading, but it wasn't, I thought I was going to come to Brown and I knew that there were no requirements at the time. But I'll tell you that it was my first week on campus when some of my classmates were going to a class on English and they encouraged me. They said, Rashid, you might want to try out this class. And in the class, a professor, Stephen Foley, who's still here, did a wonderful reading at the beginning of class, and I loved it. And I said, I'm going to go take this class. So that first semester, I took a class in English. The next semester, I took another class in English. And by the end of my first year at Brown, I declared as an English concentrator. So I went all the way from not wanting to take a single English class to becoming a concentrator like Sunil. And even if you know today that you absolutely want to be a math major, we'd encourage you to say, maybe this semester you take a math course because you can spend all of your time deeply devoted to it. Or maybe this semester you take something completely different to make sure that your interest in mathematics is really your true love. So you have plenty of time at Brown. You don't declare your concentration for 4 semesters. So we wanted to give you one more semester of preparation to figure out what it is that you want to study here.
All right, so that brings us to how do you actually do registration? As you all know, this is an unusual semester. We are trying new things, and this registration process, we put it out in the email, and I'm hoping that you can flesh it out a little bit more, Dean Zia.
Okay, thank you, Dean Rum. So let me start. I think it's just helpful for everyone to know what we traditionally do around advising and pre-registration and why things are a little bit different. Because even your Meiklejohn advisors who've gone through this process recently, it's going to be new to them too. So normally what would have happened at Brown is pre-registration usually happens a semester in advance. So usually all upper class students would have already pre-registered for their courses in the fall. And then what would happen is that we would send you an email in really late August, and you wouldn't have to, you would pick your courses, you would pre-register for courses the day before the semester began. So traditionally, first year students would have pre-registered for courses on September 8th. This year, because of the pandemic, we delayed pre-registration for all of the upper class students while we were working on the curricular plans. And because of that, we have this new opportunity where you as first year students can express your preferences in courses at the exact same time as upper class students, so that we can share that information with faculty so that they can know that you as students taking courses remotely are interested. It'll really help them with their plans. And so what we're doing is we opened up what is Courses at Brown, and you're going to get lots of discussions at Courses at Brown. That's the way that we review course systems. And what you need to do is look through Courses at Brown, find the classes that are of interest to you, and place them in your primary cart. You have until Monday, August 10th at noon to place courses in your primary cart. And then what we're going to do is with your courses and with all of the courses that the upper class students provide, we're going to try to help pre-register you for one course. Note that pre-registration isn't a fixed thing. At Brown, many students change their courses. Pre-registration is just to give you an idea of what courses you might be in. And at Brown, you have until the second week of the semester. So you'll have from September 9th through September 22nd, first 2 weeks of the semester, to change, to add or drop your course, to change the course that you're registered for. So pre-registration is just to get you some footing. We also wanted to use this. Traditionally, we ask students to share with us the information about courses they're interested in so we can help match them with an advisor too. So we're going to use the information from your Courses at Brown cart, your CAB cart, as well as another cart that you can make, an advising cart, to help pair you with a Meiklejohn and academic advisor that might be in areas that you're interested in or might specifically be the instructors of the courses that you're excited about. The process is, I know that the process is uncertain. We've asked you to place maybe 5 courses in your cart so that we can help ensure that you get pre-registered for one. But again, pre-registration is just a step. You're able to add and drop courses later on. You'll be able to change that registration later on. Yoli, there are lots of specific questions on this, so I don't know how you would advise that we work through those, but maybe we can do that later.
Yes. So I think maybe one of the things that really comes up is how, if you're looking at the system is looking at the cart, how do you know which one's the ranked preferences?
So that's a great question. This is an entirely new system that we haven't had before, and so there is no way for us to get your ranked preferences. We're really going to try to figure out which courses. At Brown, there are some courses that are enrollment limited. They have a finite number of slots. As Claire mentioned, for example, first year seminars have a cap. So what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to match you for those courses for which there seem to be constraints. So if there's a course in which I think that there are plenty of slots and it's okay, we're going to weight that pairing, that match, lower than we would for a course where there's lots of demand and you might want to know realistically whether you're able to get into it or not. We're going to be doing that for all students. What's helpful for us though is if you just put in the courses that you want, we'll try to figure out which ones are in greatest demand and try to provide you those. If you're positive that you only want to take one course, the first thing I would tell you is I try to discourage you from that notion. We have 1,000 courses. There are lots of really interesting ones. I would encourage you to look for a couple more. But if you want to try your luck, you're welcome to put in just 1 or 2 courses. But there's not a great guarantee that you would get assigned to those things. And so that's why we said, if you would like to be matched through this process, we would encourage you to put at least 5 courses in your primary cart. And then if there are other courses and areas that you're interested in that you might want advising about, you could place those things in your advising cart, and we'll use those for advising matches together with your primary cart.
All right, thank you. So Neil, I'm wondering if you could also talk about the fact that students are putting courses in their cart, but they haven't had a chance to talk to an advisor, a peer advisor. We're saying that advisor matches will, and student peer advisor matches will happen in kind of in late August, which seems too late. Can you explain what the process is and how you would use an advisor who won't be assigned to you until after this pre-reg period?
Yes. So yeah, I understand it's definitely like stressful that like you don't have someone assigned to you right now to help you talk through all of these choices. But sort of echoing what Dean Zia has said, what Claire has said, really like right now is sort of time for you to look at courses at Brown and just kind of yourself like look and see what interests you and like what excites you. And you don't really necessarily need someone to walk you through that step because that's sort of like an intensely personal thing. The other thing is I know people are really stressed about requirements and like looking towards their future at Brown, and like, you know, we've already sort of talked about why that's maybe not the right thing to be stressed about right now, but I totally understand that stress. And if you are stressed about that, you also don't necessarily need someone to talk through about that stuff right this moment either, because a lot of Brown department websites are very, very thorough. And you can use those to sort of plan ahead and look ahead and just sort of know in the back of your mind, you know, if I do end up concentrating in something, like these are the requirements, and I can tell that just by looking at like the chemistry website, for example, or like Anya said, the health careers website. So a lot of those resources are sort of like virtual and already there in some ways. So I think given, you know, all of the stress and like hectic stuff right now, I think it does kind of make sense for students to sort of build their cart based on what they're interested in and based on what they can find online and on Brown's websites. And from there, when you are matched with an advisor, it actually makes those advising conversations a lot more rich and fruitful if we can see sort of maybe 10 courses, 5 in your primary cart, 5 in your advising cart, as an example, that you are really interested in, and like some that you really want to take, some that you know you might be interested in down the line, because then we can have conversations from there. And sort of what Claire had hinted at with the Meiklejohn program is like your conversation with your academic advisor who's like a faculty or staff, that conversation is going to be different from the conversation that you have with your Meiklejohn. Meiklejohn's like might have taken the classes that you have in your cart, and so that conversation just becomes a little bit more like informal and like sort of more about the actual experience of taking those courses, and that'll be really helpful. But again, yeah, when we're having those conversations, once you've already put things in your cart, those conversations will definitely be useful. And like Dean Zia said, like what you get registered for during pre-registration is not like the class you're definitely taking come the fall semester, if that makes sense. So definitely I would say like don't be too stressed right now, or like try to like release some of that stress, because you do have a team coming to help you in a couple weeks. So.
And Claire, we've talked a lot about the one course. What would, do I have to take that course? Should I take that course? I'm not sure. What else could I do? Can you answer that?
In terms of taking that specific course, or like taking
Do you have to take a course? Are you going to be behind if you don't take a course this semester?
No, absolutely not. You can also spend this time doing literally anything else. Come to campus in the spring and have a spring and summer semester and be completely on track to graduate on time. You won't be behind. It's, as Dean Zia said, it's a bonus +1 course. That's a great opportunity, but if you choose not to do this opportunity, you will not be behind your peers in any way.
Would I still be assigned and be able to talk to an advisor and my peer advisor, even if I don't take the class?
Absolutely, yes. Yes, everyone will still be assigned an advising network in late August, no matter what. So you will still have support throughout the fall.
Great, thank you. I think at this point, I'm gonna turn to the questions that have been submitted in the Q&A. We've talked about, can you rank your course preferences? And right now we cannot. Will you receive advisors before registration on before the 8/10 deadline? Not at this point. Again, you will have those advisors assigned in late August. You'll be able to talk with them again. I'd also like to point out that most students in prior years, a student would also find out in kind of late August, but actually don't really have the opportunity to talk with a faculty academic advisor, faculty or staff academic advisor and their peer advisor until orientation, and usually the day that you actually end up registering. So it seems like, it might seem that we don't have the capacity to talk to you right now, but actually this is a greatly expanded capacity for you to connect with your advisor, with your Meiklejohn advisor, and really this webinar is not about everything else, but we are going to have a lot of other things that you could voluntarily engage in as we go through the fall term. Another question that I think we've had, Dean Zia, can you respond to, can I take more than one course? Does it have to be a hybrid course? I mean, does it have to be an online only course, or can it be a hybrid course?
So let me answer the first one. Can you take more than one course? No. We really want this to be an entirely optional course. And we know that all of you as students who got into Brown, we know that you are high achievers, and we know that you want to get started with as many things as possible. We really think it's best for you to think of this as just like one experience, one optional course, a +1 bonus. If you want, you can spend lots of time on one course. You could take one course that's entirely outside of your wheelhouse. And please know that at Brown, you're allowed to take courses, any course satisfactory, no credit. And at Brown, if you don't complete a course, the no credit notation doesn't appear on your transcript. So you could take a real risk and take something really hard and spend all your time on it. But we don't want you to try to double up and take as many courses as you want. So that's simply not possible. So each student will only be allowed one course, and it's free of charge. In terms of which kind of courses you can register for, you're welcome to register for any course in which you meet the prerequisite requirements, including courses that are taught in a hybrid fashion, as well as those that are fully online. All Brown courses this semester are going to be accessible to remote participants. We can talk a little bit about how you might see that yourself and how you might shop courses later. But please feel free, any of the courses are the ones that you should put in your cart that you're interested in. Yoli, I also see that there's a specific question in here. Maybe if I could read it aloud and answer it, because I know that many of the students on University Scholarship have the question. An anonymous attendee asked, for students who are part of the BCMS pilot program, will the cost of required books be covered for the optional fall course? BCMS stands for the Book and Course Material Support Program, and it is extended to all first-year students who are on University Scholarship, and it provides for direct support of textbooks through the Brown Bookstore. And I just want to be clear, yes, for first-year students who are part of the BCMS program, who are receiving University Scholarship, we will be able to provide you with book and course materials through the Brown Bookstore. All students will be able to purchase books online through the Brown Bookstore, and some of those will be delivered digitally, so you'll get them as downloads. Others may need to be shipped to you. So please stay tuned if you're part of the BCMS program. And all students, please know that you can actually see what books and course materials are required in CAB. It's at the bottom of the course page.
All right, thanks. So actually, I realized that we didn't talk much about shopping period. And I've never heard about shopping period. I don't understand shopping period. And now I've heard it's different this year. So Dean Zia, I think you probably have the best handle on how shopping period will be this year.
Yeah, so shopping is the word that we use at Brown to describe the process of thinking about which classes you're going to take. So oftentimes as a student, you're going to have more courses that you're interested in than the number of slots that you have. And that's certainly going to be the case this year. And Brown, we have a pretty generous policy where students are able to change their course registration during the first 2 weeks without a fee. And most faculty know that students are still exploring courses. Traditionally, the way this happens is that you might go and attend a class in person. Obviously, that's not going to happen this year. But what we are doing is we're setting it up so that all courses are accessible for online participation. So what this means is that the first week of classes for every discipline will be fully online. So for every course will be fully online, and you'll be able to access those course materials through a site called Canvas. Canvas.brown.edu is the learning management system that Brown uses, where course pages appear. And the way that you can get access to the Canvas pages is every time you take a course in CAB and place it in your primary cart, if that course has a published Canvas site, you'll immediately get access to it. So you might want to try this out later this morning. If you already have some courses in your primary cart, go to canvas.brown.edu and you might see some websites there with course materials. And through there, you'll also get links to recordings that might be accessible for the course, the syllabus, any assignments that have been posted. And faculty will start sending messages through that means and providing more information about how you can determine whether or not you want to participate in the course. The great thing is that instructors can also see your name there and see that you're starting to participate. We would encourage you after pre-registration to keep browsing courses because we know that you're going to be interested in several things. And then when the semester starts, you'll have an opportunity to change from the one course that you were pre-registered for to another course if space and timing permits. I don't know if that, can I pass the mic? Claire and Sunil, could either of you provide some description of what shopping feels like from the student perspective?
Definitely, yeah. So from the student perspective, kind of shopping is this hectic but also pretty wonderful time in which you're thinking kind of very critically about what you want your semester to look like. You're communicating with your friends about what classes they're shopping. As Dean Zia mentioned, with his experience with English, you're finding courses that you didn't even know existed simply because someone else is shopping them. And you're kind of going to these classes and evaluating whether you think that the teaching style kind of aligns with the way that you learn. You're looking at the syllabuses and you're seeing whether the books and the readings are something that you'd like to complete. You're communicating with your Meiklejohn and other kind of advisors about what their understandings are of the class and the professor. And it's just kind of this 2-week period in which everyone is thinking kind of really hard about what they want the semester ahead to look like and how they want to engage that semester with their coursework to best align with their interests and strengths.
Thank you, Claire. The one thing to note is that during shopping period, you still usually do the assignments and the readings. So it's about having the course come to life because we have a course code, and then we have a course title, and then you have a course description. But sometimes it's only when you see all of the readings. It's sometimes when you see that first assignment. It's when you hear that first lecture or engage in that first discussion that you get a sense of, oh, this is the course I want to be in. And I know that for me, every semester, I had this long list of courses that were possibilities, and shopping was the way that we narrowed it down. It's really tough because you have to make some choices. We don't want you to try to shop 10 courses at once. It can be overwhelming at the beginning, but think of this as the semester where you might shop a couple of courses to pick that one that is perfect for you to get started, and know that you're going to have many more opportunities in future semesters.
Great, thanks. Sunil, I've been seeing a lot of questions about placement exams. How do I know what level I'm at? Who do I talk to about this? Can you kind of reiterate what you said before and maybe add? Thanks.
Yeah, so most questions about placement for different departments are answered online on departmental websites. So if you have like a particular AP score or IB score or background in a field, you can usually see online, like for math, for example, like what AP score would place you into what math course, or for some of the language courses, what SAT subject score or whatever would place you into what language course. And then for chemistry and some, I think also languages and math maybe have placement exams, placement tests that you can take, which should already be accessible to students, and that you can take now up until the semester starts, I'm pretty sure. But again, those details are online. But yeah, those exams are like really low pressure. You just sort of take them and definitely just like as honestly as you can just to see where you would land. You could not place into any like upper level class and still be totally fine no matter what you want to do at Brown. So like definitely, I know there's a lot of stress around placement, but like really like it's not the end of the world if you don't do super well on a placement test or you like don't place into as high of a course as you thought you might. But definitely we do want you to be in the course that is like the most like intellectually like challenging and fulfilling for you. So yeah, I would say definitely check the websites that are being sent in the chat right now. And then if you have a chance and you are interested in some of the classes that take the placement exams, then definitely take those and see where you land on some of those things.
Great, thank you. So I think one of the things that students are kind of wondering, they have the AP score for Math 9, for example, and does that, and they put Math 10 in their cart, will that mean that they automatically get placed in Math 10? And by Math 10, I actually mean Math 0100, and by Math 9, I actually mean Math 0090 or 0090, sorry. So all of that, again, is movable, changeable. As you go through the courses, as the syllabi are posted, you can look to see the topics that are covered and whether or not you really feel comfortable taking, maybe you took a AB Calc your junior year, and you kind of want to reinforce your foundation there. So again, place the courses that interest you. Try not to worry too much about placement at this point. I think one of the concerns that, and again, this is all new, the chem placement exam, it really is based on your semester level. So right now, as first years, technically you are not a first semester student. So some of the courses, so there's a couple things. Some of the courses say enrollment limited to semester 1 or 2. You are considered semester 1 for that purpose. The chem placement exam seems to have a little glitch in it, which we're working on because it seems that incoming students can't access it because they're not considered semester 1. All these systems are built on a different model. So we're working through these glitches, and please bear with us. Keep going with the chem tutorial if that's what you're interested in. And again, if you want to not take chem or do any other kind of exploratory thing, we'd really encourage you to do that. Anya, I've actually seen some questions about pre-health. Is the pre-health careers fair that was typically offered going to be offered? What do you say for pre-health?
Yes, thank you, Yoli. So we haven't gone over our event calendar yet for the fall term, but we do actually have a website up currently on our website, I should say. We have a web page dedicated to first year and sophomore students, and that just addresses some COVID-related FAQs. And so I would invite you, of course, to visit that as well. But as we learn more and as we sort of put together our events and programs for the term, we will will certainly let everybody know via our website, and of course post it on any other relevant websites as well. And so you'd be informed about any events and programs. We usually do have a first year orientation session. I'm not quite sure yet when that will be held. We're still working that out. But that's an opportunity for all students interested in a career in the health professions to attend and to really learn everything that you need to know and more about preparation for a career within the health professions. So again, just keep your eyes out for that too.
Claire, there's some questions about, can I take a writing requirement course, a RIT designated course, or a concentration course, or something that counts for pre-med? Can I take those courses SNC?
You can absolutely take any course SNC. Something to consider is how that might affect your application, in which case you might want to talk to an advisor before electing to take it SNC. It kind of depends on what your exact situation is, I think. But you can absolutely take it SNC if you would like to. Any class is SNCable.
SNCable. That's a new word for me. So, Dean Zia, I think another question that we are having is, oh, I just lost it. Sorry. The advising cart, is that something that pops up in CAD? Is it something that we create? What's the difference between what you're saying about the primary cart, the advising cart? Can you help us with that?
Sure. So the primary cart is the default. So when you go to add a course, it's going to say add, and it's going to say primary there. And the primary cart is the one that gives you access to Canvas. It's the one where you indicate to us what courses you want to register for. The advising cart is a type of secondary cart. If you look at the email that we sent you on Tuesday, there's a link that goes straight to showing you how to build your advising cart. And we're going to use that information to help pair you with an advisor. I see in the Q&A that there's some questions. Do I need an advisor in my concentration? And the answer is no, you don't have a concentration yet. We really do want you to explore, and we know that there are faculty at Brown that are able to advise you on any concentration that you might choose. But what we're trying to do is, again, help you build a personal relationship. So we're trying to see if there are advisors in areas that you're interested in, or maybe around specific courses that you're interested in. Maybe there's a Faulkner class and you like Faulkner, even if you don't want to be an English concentrator like Sunil, right? And so you might be able to match up with that advisor. It's simply a way to show us what you find interesting so that we can help you build part of your advising team at Brown. Yoli, can I ask for a favor that might be helpful? Because I know we're getting close to time. There are a bunch of questions, I think at the top of the thread that we might be able to run through pretty quickly. Would it be okay if I ask some of these questions and then people take a stab at answering them?
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. Some of them are
okay.
repeats, so if you can figure out which ones are new, that's great.
So there's a student here that asked a question. I have a question about if you only want to take one large lecture course for the fall, for example, social psychology, do we need to register for another class? Sunil, what would you do if you knew you only wanted to take one course?
Well, if social psychology or the other lecture course is not capped, I would say add some other courses that you're interested in that might be capped, because then you could get a spot in those courses. You might decide you like those better, and then you'll stay in that other course. So then you have a course that you want to take.
Thank you, Sunil. Yoli, how do I make sure that I get an advisor that fits my areas of interest?
Interestingly enough, you don't actually need to have an advisor who completely matches your interest. If you kind of listen to this whole webinar, it's all about exploring, and also your first year advisor sticks with you through your sophomore year. They're really to help you think about not only your pathway, but the resources that are available at Brown. At the end of your fourth semester, you declare a concentration, and that's when you get the concentration advisor who really is more focused on how do you finish the requirements in that concentration, what kinds of opportunities are there available for advisees, such as research, or I'm thinking about grad school for the future. But really your first year advisor is your point of connection, your point of contact, your critical question maker who can help you think through all the choices that you have.
Thank you. We're just going to try to do some more rapid fire, if that's okay. Claire, when adding courses to the cart, it's always, sometimes it says override required. What does that mean?
That means that the instructor has to give you permission to enroll in the course and actually register for it. So there's actually a function on CAB where you can enter in an override request to the professor, where you can write out why you would like to take the course, or if it's because you don't have like a prerequisite that's required for it, why you think you'd still be able to keep up with the course material. So that's all within CAB, but if it has an override required, that means that the instructor has to approve your potential registration.
Thank you, Claire. I'm going to answer it. There's a couple questions on first year seminars. Can we only take one first year seminar all of the first year? No, but we do try to give preference so that students get into at least one. So if you get into one this fall, it might be less likely that you get into one in spring or in summer, but there are certainly students that take multiple first year seminars. And if you want to see what courses are potentially available in the spring and summer, we can drop in the chat the link to the provisional partial course list. We say this really, it is provisional and partial, it is incomplete. Please don't use it for the fall courses. CAB is the system of record for that, but it gives you some idea of what courses are offered in the spring and summer. And then can I ask a question to Anya? Can I take a language course this fall, such as Chinese 100? Because this is the first half of a year-long course. Is that okay?
Yes, I believe that should be okay. So yes, again, it's just all about academic exploration and choosing a course that fits your interest. And if you don't mind, Dean Z, I just wanted to make a quick point too about pre-health courses, not to shift too drastically. But in regards to the students who might be interested in taking a science pre-health requirement during the fall term, if you do decide to do that and it is a requirement course, just make sure to take it for a grade. Unfortunately, most health profession schools don't accept courses that are taken SNC. So again, just a quick note there, there's more information on our website if you'd like to know more too.
And then the last of the rapid fires that I'll try to do is, when do you anticipate RISD courses will be available to Brown students? So Brown and RISD, we're neighbors. We both sit on College Hill, and we actually have a number of you on this call might actually be Brown RISD dual degree students. We have a cross-registration agreement that allows RISD students to register at Brown and Brown students to register at RISD. That's not going to be available to you as first years right now, because many of the things that you might do would be hybrid courses that at RISD. And in the spring semester, unfortunately, the calendars of Brown and RISD will be a little bit different. But please know you will have access to potentially taking RISD courses in future years. Again, you have plenty of time left at Brown. So I'm going to turn the floor back over to Yoli. We've completed the lightning round, as it were.
And now what? So I think what you can take away from this whole conversation is, one, there's a lot of information out there. I think students are feeling as if there's too much information and not enough actual people to talk to. We have that virtual student community where I know probably Madhu is in this webinar. She's been answering them amazingly. Thank you. That's a enrolled student for the first year. She has not come to campus either, will not be here until the spring, and really has dug way into lots of the materials that we have and has been doing a great job in helping you all think through that. So I would encourage you all to also do that, which is look through the materials. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of answers. There's a lot of questions. And really, as much as we know is on the website. And I know that that's hard to kind of hear because it is a lot. Know that it's a lot now, it's a lot next year, it's a lot the next year after. Claire, would you say that you actually know everything about Brown? I would say I don't.
Absolutely not. No, I'm sure. I don't know a single person who does, even Dean Zia or President Paxson.
So as much as you can, look through the materials, take a breath, know that we do truly want you to have a good experience this fall, next spring, next summer, the 3 years after. If it becomes more than that, we'll still be here for you. Dean Z, do you want to add anything to that?
Dean Rome, that was a wonderful summary. We know that we're not able to answer all of your questions this morning, but we hope that this has been an introduction. We are so excited to welcome you to the classroom. We know that that's one of the reasons why you chose Brown, and we're going to be excited to meet with you next month in our advising meetings. There are lots of logistical questions. I see in the thread there are questions about how do labs work, and sometimes you might be, if you sign up for a science lab course, you might be doing those labs at home with materials we might be able to ship to you, or materials you might be able to find there, or you might be doing virtual labs. It's really going to be specific to the course. And I know that there are lots of concerns about time zone differences, and we're going to talk about those later in subsequent messages. But please know that a number of classes, if you see them and they don't have a time or day, those are actually asynchronous courses that'll be accessible to you at any time. And if you see a class like, how would I find the answer to this question? Maybe this is a good teaching moment. Sunil, there's a question in the chat that says, what is the meaning of SNC only on the CAB website? How would you figure out what that meant, Sunil?
How would I figure out what that meant? Oh, like how, if I was the first year, how would I figure out what that meant?
Yeah.
Like looking on like a Brown website or something? And is that what you mean? Is that what you want me to say?
I don't know. No, I'm curious what you would do.
Oh,
right. So this is the.
I would probably just search what does it mean if a Brown course is S&C only, and probably the first result of that search will be a website that tells me what that is. If it is S&C only, that means that you have to take it S&C and you don't have a choice. That's what that means. But yeah, a lot of these questions can really just be answered on Google, honestly, and Brown will come up, and then there you go, you're set.
So I know that this is. We hope that this has been a first introduction to how courses are going to work. It's not going to be perfect. It doesn't need to be right now. What we want to know is we want you to explore. That is the key of this process right now, is to explore your interests and to prepare to dive in to see what the classes might be. Please know the one part I want to emphasize is this bonus class this fall, it's completely optional to you. So if the idea of taking a class remotely while you're doing other things doesn't appeal to you, you absolutely do not need to do it. But if you're not sure, please feel free to try for a little bit, and you're able to decide later on that you don't want to do it. And if you don't know which 2 or 3 classes you really are most excited about, shop them. I'm going to turn it over to Sunil because I think he has one last comment.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say really quickly, like off of that, just to recognize that like the world right now is like especially stressful and like emotional and a difficult one to really inhabit fully. And that we all recognize that and see that for sure. And just to know that like, as stressful as this is right now for everybody, especially for first years and people starting college and this transition in their life, there are people at Brown like Dean Rome and like your Meiklejohn peer advisors and other staff and faculty that really, really care for you, even if you haven't enrolled yet, and really want to see you have a great first year, even if this wasn't sort of the ideal situation. And sort of going off what Dee and Zia said, if taking the course in the fall and that act of deep studying is going to be something beneficial for you, then we definitely encourage you to do that. If it's not, then we encourage you to not, and you won't be behind for sure. So just sort of to recognize that. And again, like just hope that everyone is okay right now and like taking space to like sort of get through the time that we're in.
Thanks, Sunil. Does anyone else want to have a last comment? It is 11. Or should we say goodbye? Dean Zia, you look like you're going to.
I was just going to say, it's not going to be goodbye. So hopefully it's just so long for now, and we'll see you soon. And we look forward to welcoming you online throughout the fall for our engagement activities. And we look forward to welcoming you to College Hill as soon as is safely possible. We're excited to have you as members of our community. And if there's anything we can do, please reach out to us.
All right, take care, everyone.